I have a work in progress folder set up on my desktop so you can see it. You want to move your against the clock files for the kinetic stages over into a WIP folder on your computer so we can stay organized with our files here, and we will select that folder as our local root folder in Dreamweaver. Go ahead and open up Dreamweaver, and you can see I've got a site open, but I'm just going to ignore that for now. You want to have your Files panel open, your Insert panel open, and then the Properties panel, which is usually floating on our left side of the screen here. Go back to my Files panel. When you have a larger site or multi-page site, it's good to create multiple folders in your WIP folder to keep that organized. And we're going to go through that together. We've got an Images folder and a Menus folder and a Resources folder. I'm going to go now to my Files panel and go to Manage Sites. And I'm going to ignore that other site. And I want to set up a new site. We're going to go ahead and name this site Kinetic. And then for your local site folder, this is your root folder. Navigate to that WIP folder where you moved your against the clock files, and I'm going to select those kinetic stage files, and that is my root folder. I'm going to save that. Click on Done, and now you see that site is set up. Look around to see your site structure. I have my Images folder, my various stage folders, menus, and resources here. I want to open up my Kinetic Stage 1 and open up my index.html folder. The index.html, file, not folder, is really my home page. That's my index page. So if I double click on it, that's going to open up the web page. If you see a split view with the code on the left side, you can get rid of that by just clicking back on Design View. And then if you want to follow along in the book, you can open it up to page 28 and 29. And then we're going to quickly move on to page 30. My files may look a little bit different from yours. Just to note, I'm using my graphic files from 2016, but I'm using the 2017 textbook, so the steps and the stages will be the same, but some of the images may look a little bit different. All right, I'm going to close my index file here by just clicking on the X and open up my contact page, and then open Menu 1 in my Menus folder. And you can just look around at the different HTML pages on this site. I'm going to close the Menu 1 folder. With the Kinetic site open in your Files panel, go to the top of the Files panel and Control-right click on the site name. Then I can create a new folder, and I'm going to call this folder Resources. Once you have your Resources folder set up, we're going to go to View and Refresh Design View, just to refresh that page, and then go back up to your site, Control-right click, and open up a new folder, and you can name that Images. So I already have my folders here, but go ahead and create an Images folder as well as the Resources folder. Once you do that, you can sort your image files into the appropriate folder. So if you've got some JPEG images hanging out, select them and move them into the image folder. So I've already got my JPEGs and I've got a PNG in here. So we're just going to move and drag those files into the Images folder, and then you can refresh your view again. Do the same thing and create a Menus folder. So you can just go to Control-right click, New Folder, and type in Menus, and then move your, go back to Stage 1, Menu 1 and Menu 2 HTML pages into your Menus folder. Refresh your list view in the Files panel, and we're going to go up to where it says Local Files and Control-right click on Local Files and select Type. And that will just show me what type of file each one is, and that's just helpful for sorting your files so you can see which ones are HTML files clearly, and if you have any other image folders hanging out, you can move you can move them into the images folder. If you are prompted, go ahead and click update so that you can update every instance that the image that you're moving into a folder will update that across the board of your site on every page that it's used. If you don't do that, it won't update each individual place that it's being used. And then the resources folder, we're going to move the tables Photoshop file into our resources folder. And you can collapse those files and expand them as needed. Look in your book for the Windows platform commands. It's very similar, but in the Windows platform, it will sort the folders alphabetically at the top of the site list above individual files. And then you can click the refresh button here. Okay, so that's the end of stage 1, and then if you want to follow along with me on stage 2, that will be in the next video. In stage 2, we're going to look at our site navigation and planning. At the end, towards the end of the semester, when we go to our final projects, we'll have 3 websites that you will need to submit. One's the ePortfolio, then a professional site, and the third would be a responsive redesign. You will have 5 pages on each website, including the home page. So you can start thinking about how you want to plan the navigation and the links back and forth on each one of those pages. Because we only have one really URL on the ASU server, you will link all of your sites to your index homepage. So you will essentially have one web address with all your sites linked to that homepage. So that's something to start thinking about, how you want to arrange that. You want to go ahead and lay those out and the navigation to and from each page, linking back and forth before you even begin the layout in Dreamweaver. And that's called the information architecture. Read that on page 35 in your textbook about how to organize. That's a very important step as you begin your web design of your site. Get familiar with the terms of parent, child, and sibling pages and how they link together and are accessible to your home page. Let's go ahead and start by opening up your index page. I've got mine opened up here for the Kinetic Bistro site, and we're going to look at the nav bar up here. So these are the various pages to our site, and they're all linked on our nav bar to our index page. And we are going to look at different ways we can link those. I see my properties panel is not showing up, so I'm going to go back. There it is. And select the home page by double clicking on it there. And one way that we can select the hyperlink for the home page is just by going down here in our properties panel to the browse for file folder, just like we selected the root folder. So if we click on that, then we can go to our root folder and select our index page, click open, and then you can see the link here is to the index HTML. Next, I'm going to highlight the About page. Another way I can link this is going to my Browse or Point to File icon in my Properties panel. Make sure your Files panel is open. I'm going to click on Point to File and hold down my mouse, and you can see the blue pointer. I'm going to point it to the About page. And now you can see the About page is linked. I go to my menus. You can also go to the Insert panel, select HTML, and then select Hyperlink, and then link to your file by selecting it here, going to my menus page. And you can open it that way. Also, don't forget to select your target. I'm going to select self, And you can do that in any of these different ways of hyperlinking your page. And you can read about the different options also in your textbook. If you open it up on page 39 in your textbook, opening up in the self opens the link in the same frame or browser window as the link. You can also open it up as a blank page, and that will open every linked file in a new unnamed browser window. You can create new, which will create a new browser window, parent, which will include it in a nested frame, and also top, which will link it to the same browser window regardless of the frames. So we're just going to select self here and go ahead and create the link. And you can also give each link a title, which is very helpful for search engines. So we're going to type in Kinetic Bistro menu. And you can go back and do that for each link here. So for the home page, you can select self and give it a title here. This is the Kinetic Bistro home page. So you can do that all in the properties panel. For the events page and the contact page, let's go ahead and do the event page. Highlight that. Hold down the shift key and your mouse at the same time. You can see the pointer. Oops, and I forgot to switch to my files panel. So do that again. And then I can select my events page and point to that file too. So there's several different ways you can hyperlink it. Go ahead and use any of those methods to link the contact link to the contact HTML page. And then we can go to split view and just look at what's happening in the code here. So if you see, I've got contact highlighted, and this is giving me a code here of href that's telling me it's a hyperlink, and the reference is the contact.html page. And then you can also see the target. When I've got the target selected, it's telling me the target is self, so that's how that link is going to open up. So it's good to kind of be familiar with the coding as you're doing these links. Let me go back to design view. Okay, so we've looked at 4 different ways to create our hyperlinks in the navbar and how to open up the target menu. Now we're going to copy and paste those links using the tag selector so you don't have to go and individually do that again on every single page. What I'm going to do is click on the tags down here. I'm in my navbar and click on UL tag, and that means it's an unordered list. That's going to select the entire unordered list. And I'm just going to go to Edit Copy or Command C to copy that unordered list with all of those hyperlinks. Then I can close out my index page and open up another page here. I'm just going to open up my About page, go into my navbar, select Unordered List, and just paste that right in. And you can see all the hyperlinks are pasted in as well. Okay, so that's an easy way to copy that code over. Now we're going to look at relative links and absolute links. Let's look at the footer. We're going to switch to live view. I'm going to go to my footer here. If I select the against the clock text, you can see it's telling me I can add a strong tag, which is usually a bold, an emphasis tag, which is usually italic, and then a hyperlink reference. So if you don't have a hyperlink reference, go ahead and type in http://www.againsttheclock.com. So we're just going to link that Against the Clock footer to the website. And you can copy that onto all the pages as well. All right, so that's done now. Save your changes. I'm going to go back to Design View. When you switch to Live View, it's like you're turning off the grid and you can see what the page is going to look like on your browser. And then it just gets rid of all the structure. And if you want to see that structure again, then go back to the design view for the formatting. Okay, so onto our relative paths on page 45 in your textbook. What we've done here is we have created a link from the index.html page to our contact page, or our about page here, but it's a relative path and it's not an absolute path. The relative path does not include the folders that it's nested in. So what we want to do is add that link, and you can read more about that on page 45. We want to direct using the coding to go up a folder according to the structure that the page is in. So let us start here by going to our menus, and I'm going to open up my menu 1 HTML page. Double click the word home in the nav bar, and then you can go to our properties panel, and that should be linked to my home page. So I'm going to go ahead and point that to my index page here. I haven't copied all that over. And now you see this .. It's telling me to go up a folder. So when you see that ... it's saying that each step in the folder structure requires another command to go up a step in the folder section. So if you had another level of nesting inside the menus folder, a link would have to take the viewer up 2 folder levels. So there's 2 dots, so it's saying going up 2 folder levels to the place where that page resides. So you want to go ahead and link using the properties panel by adding that notation ... before the existing link. So go ahead and do that for your about page, the events page, and then your contact links. After you do that, then we'll go to your menus. And when you go to the menus, you will get, instead of, I'm going to go ahead and link my lunch menu here by selecting lunch menu. I'm going to link the lunch menu to menu 2. And I'm going to link my dinner menu to menu 1. Because both of these menu pages are inside the same folder, I don't need to include the ... So you can delete those if you've added them and just leave it as menu 1 and menu 2. Repeat the process from steps 1 to 7 in your textbook to adjust those top links and add the necessary secondary links for the menu files. Go ahead and do that now, and then you can save and close your files. Once you've done that, we're going to create an email link. I'm going to close this and open up your contact HTML file. So you can see there's an email. It's just a fake email address. If you select the email address, you can go to your insert panel and then scroll down to email link, and you can type in the email address. And if you've got it selected, it will automatically include that for you. Go ahead and cancel. And then you can see in your properties panel, it will need to include the mail to text in front of the email address. And it should do that for you. So make sure it includes the mail to : and that will take you to the email address. And then you want to update that every time you have the email address on your other pages. Save your files, and then we will go on to stage 3.